Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another 2025 rookie scouting report show for you today. Going to be joined again by Jason DiRienzo, my podcast co-host, and we are going to discuss everything you need to know about Harold Fannin Jr. Had a pretty decent showing down at the Senior Bowl. We're going to break it all down. We're going to go over his 2024 stats, his PFF grades. We've watched the All-22 film, and we're going to give you our scouting report grades as well and tell you what kind of dynasty asset he could potentially be in our upcoming rookie drafts. So hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the NFL draft. A tall order doesn't cost you a thing to hit that subscribe button. Let's get to the show. All right, Jason, this is going to be a fun one. All right. Our second 2025 rookie report tonight. And let's talk about Mr. Harold Fannin Jr. Okay. We watched the film versus Central Michigan and Texas A&M. He had a really good game against Penn State early in the year. In fact, his Texas A&M game and his Penn State game both under 100 yards. He simply dominated on both of those plays. So, unfortunately, I don't have the game versus Penn State, at least not in all 22. But I know I'm interested, too, because he was down at the Senior Bowl, and I know you got your eyes on this guy. So I'll be really looking forward to what you have to say about him and down there. So, okay, 6'3", 238 pounds. First thing you come to mind is he's a little undersized, right? Yeah, he's a true senior. But again, this production, all right, is what got this guy on the map this year. Okay, we're going to go over his 2024 production and his PFF grades. His receiving yards, 1,300 freaking yards. That's for insane. A tight end. Okay, that is a lot. All right, I think he was like one of the leading receivers in all of college football. I think he was pretty close up there to the top.
I think he was, yeah.
I think he was. And 9 touchdowns, all right. His catch percentage, 78.1, so he has good hands, all right. 13.4 yards per reception. His inline slot and wide alignment, and, I'd like to look at this because it kind of describes the versatility a little bit. 40% inline, which is kind of surprising. 32% in the slot and 28% wide. So what does that tell you? It means you can line this guy up all over the field. His PFF receiving grade for tight ends, as you guys see the grades here, if you're watching on YouTube on the screen, these grades are all the ranks that you see are based on the top 12 tight ends going to the 2025 NFL draft. He ranks first of all receiving tight, all the tight ends at 95.9. He ranked first. Contested catch percentage, 58.8, ranked fifth. Yards after catch per reception, 7.5 yards after catch is what he got, ranked fourth in the class. His drop percentage, 2.9, third, which means he's got good sticky hands. His PFF pass blocking grade, not so good. 35.9, ranked 11th out of the 12 tight ends. And listen, a guy that's 6'3", 238 pounds. We're not expecting him to block, and I'm not expecting him to block in the NFL either. This guy's going to be a move tight end that's going to be used in the passing game. So we watched the film, Jason. Tell the good people what your thoughts are. And if you want to add any tidbits that you saw down at the Senior Bowl, let us hear them.
Yeah, he's an interesting one for sure, because you see the production numbers and you think this is a like highly twitchy athletic guy. When I watch the film, I don't see that off the snap. I see a guy who, gets off the line quickly, but there's a bit of tightness in there. So when it's almost like when he's starting to get going, it takes him a minute to get moving. I saw the same thing live at the Senior Bowl, and it kind of blew my mind. I never really take day one in consideration because I know these guys are trying to get acclimated and get chemistry and everything. But the athleticism and the movement abilities, that should all just kind of be there. And it was very consistent all 3 days that I watched Harold Fannin, that there was definitely some tightness. Coming out of his breaks wasn't smooth or crisp, and you saw that on the film as well. But what you do see is a guy who understands exactly where he wants to go in space. So if you can get him the ball, and we saw this in the film, if you get him the ball while he's in the slot or in line as a tight end coming off the line of scrimmage, and he's already open and available, and you get him the ball, you're going to see a lot of misdirection. You're going to see a lot of manipulation. Came away really impressed with how he was able to kind of elude and evade with his movement ability. So it's interesting how when he finally gets up to speed and he's been moving for a second, that if there is a pursuing defender, he's actually able to really do some stemming and jab steps in order to evade and then continue on with decent speed, not tremendous upside athletic athletic long speed, but enough speed to gain yards after the catch. The physicality is there as a receiver, but definitely not as a blocker. I'm not seeing this guy try to stop Josh Sweat off the edge. Like, that is just not going to happen. The lower body needs a little bit more strength. But I think this is a guy who could be a versatile weapon along the line of scrimmage, as we've seen where he's been lined up. I'd like him a little bit better as a big slot / inline tight end that can be used just to chip block or just get off the line. Not a guy who's going to solidify with good blocking technique. Again, this is maybe like an Evan Ingram type coming in where he's undersized, but if you find a way to get this guy usage and get him into space and on short drag routes, curls, different things like that, or hitches, I should say, just get him that momentum. I think you could really maximize and utilize him as a second level type of receiver because he is dominant at all 3 levels as a receiver. So I think this is a kid who's going to need some development. I think he's going to need to get used to the competition level he's going to be facing in the NFL, coming from, lower, lesser competition. But that's what you want to see, a guy who can dominate at whatever competition level he's at. And that's exactly what he did. So I see a very good player with upside as a receiver, but I think the athleticism is capping him a bit.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that you hit it right on the head with the athleticism is going to cap it a little bit.
Yeah.
He was the master whip route in those
Yes,
films that we watched. He's
pretty impressive.
It was. I mean, he came, he was like, in line, he came out, he did the little whip route. There was like 5 or 6 of those things. So I mean, I don't know how good his route tree is. But I agree with you. The one thing I noticed too in the second level with him is when he did have a head of steam to change direction. I'm not sure I agree with you. One is being able to stem, at the second level. I thought he struggled with like really wide steps to make guys, kind of miss when he had a head of steam going. But listen, the guy's got some sudden movement skills. I mean, you wouldn't be catching 1,300 yards of catches and passes, all season long if you were not creating space for yourself. So you got to give him that. I think his functional agility is pretty good, but I agree with you. His athleticism, I think, is going to be capped, and the physical frame is going to limit really his upside. And again, physicality is something you and I talk about all the time when we do these rookie reports. Playing at the NFL is a whole different level, man. So you got to, you've got to bring it. So we'll see where he is. Do you think he gets day 2 draft capital? I'm thinking he's a day 3 guy.
I think he's a day 3 guy. Now that I've seen him up close and I've watched the film and I know there's a lot of hype, I personally wouldn't be taking him the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. He just doesn't have that physicality because I think the other tight ends in this class, the Mason Taylors and the Gunnar Helms. I mean, they have, I think, just as much. Did I say his name wrong? Was it Gunnar Helms?
No, you did. I agree with you. Like, that was a good name to bring up.
Okay. Yeah. These guys have similar mobility and athleticism, but they bring the size to the table, and I think that's what's going to knock Fannin Jr. down in the draft a little bit. Is that it's a tight end, it's a deep tight end class, right? We got a lot. I think we're going to get 3 or 4 potential, year 1 starters out of this tight end class. And Harold Fannin Jr., I kind of had a comp for him as like Isaiah Likely, a guy who's going to come in and be that number 2, move tight end that could be maybe used more in the passing game than really in line and not really having that tight end 1 role on a team. But we will see. So there you guys got it. There is our Harold Fannin Jr. Scouting report for the 2025 draft.